Hello everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and welcome to Graveyard Girls, an entry for the Spooktober 2021 visual novel jam, however you want to call it, with the following premises. Grief isn't a low, it's a terrifying high, atop a mountain I never climbed. Visiting her father's grave on Halloween was never the plan, but inexplicably, Elle finds herself drawn to the local cemetery. Hoping to find a semblance of closure, she arrives at his gravesite with a notebook clutched to her chest. And that is all we're going to be reading for now, so let's start the game. So you can tell this is about loss in some ways, but also this has Yuri in it as well. Not the girl Yuri, but the Yuri as in like the content, the topic. The situation. Graveyard Girls depicts the complicated and traumatic aftermath of losing a parent during young adulthood. Yikes. I think regardless of how old you are, that is a theme, but the younger you are, the more less you get to know your parents in a way. This topic has been addressed as authentically as possible. Also, there is a link down in the description below where you're able to download this game for yourselves. This is made by the same developers that made Starlight Shores, which you can find on Steam. If you're struggling with grief, you may not have a safe experience playing this game. Exactly, if you're struggling with grief at this point in time, you may not have a safe experience watching this video. Content warning. Graveyard Girls contains strong language, mature humor, drug abuse, self-harm, mention of suicide, alcohol use and sexual themes. This game is intended for players aged 18 years or over. Viewer discretion is advised. Would you like to continue? Yes, I would. You have your warnings, folks, from both me and the game. Let's see what we have here. I tend to play this game to its completion, but there are 14,000 words here. The leaves crunch below my feet as I make my way through the cemetery, counting each row that I pass. A frigid gust of wind catches my hair and blows it into my vision. I tuck it away carefully. I can't help but remember how he used to tease me about finding my long hair everywhere. It's in your mouth because some people like to chew their own hair. He'd always tell me how beautiful it was. Ah. So here we have one personnel. Once I find the section I've been searching for, I'll let out a sigh, although it's not of relief. The cold stone inscription stares back at me expressionless. Jason Gray, beloved husband and father. As I read the name quietly to myself, I feel like he's greeted me in his own way. What am I supposed to say? Just to reiterate the situation a little bit at hand, last March in 2020 I lost my grandfather, so it's not exactly the case of losing a parent, but it's still losing someone very, very, very important in your family. And even nearly 2 years to this date since I lost him, I still thoroughly miss him and think about him every single day. And it's tough getting through this kind of stuff. Nothing prepares you when it comes to losing a loved one, but it's how we go through with time and the things that we mentally prepare ourselves for the tomorrow that we have always, that brings us back up slowly. It's not a quick process. It's a very, very gradual, slow process. Nothing seems quite right, so I settle on the simplest of phrases. Hi, Dad. So this is Elle. I imagine she's our protagonist of this tale. I made it. I know it's been a while. In truth, it's been too long. The visuals of this game look different from Starlight Shores, so there must have been a different background artist or character artist going along here. The last time I visited, he didn't even have a headstone. I'm sorry. I should have come sooner. What am I thinking? Coming here isn't going to help. As if talking to a polished rock is going to bring any kind of closure. I turn to leave, but there's a magnetism to this place. As if he reached for my hand, and said, "You're leaving already?" I gaze back at his headstone and whisper to myself, "You want me to stay? Fine." My mum always insisted that I be careful not to stand on graves when visiting cemeteries. But that was out of respect for strangers. This is my dad's resting place. I sat on his lap 1,000 times before, What would he care if I rested on his... I know he wouldn't have minded, but it's the concept behind it. It's not cool just to go on people's graves and sit on them. Damn. Without another moment of hesitation, I brush away the leaves and sit back against his headstone. There wasn't even talks about multiple endings to this game, so it could be a kinetic visual novel. I lay my notebook across my thighs and settle into place. And what do we have? Oh, that's quite nice in a way, but it's also quite what's the correct word for it? It's not disturbing or horrifying. It's somewhere more subtle than that, but it's still within a morbid place. If I'm staying for a while, I'm getting comfy. Well, I'm guessing not much has changed with you. He'd appreciated that sarcasm. Dark humor was his thing. That's probably where I got it from. I'll just sit here and talk to myself, like a crazy person. You're not crazy, Ellie. Let's see. Let's stay... I think talking about Mom ensures that you stay positive. Hold on. I need to do my trademark save whenever a multiple choice comes up. But I think it could just be dialogue differences. I guess it's time to tell you what's been going on. You might not love what I have to say next. You'd probably be angry. At least I think you would have been. Is it the fact that Mom has found somebody else to be as a partner? I'll try to keep it short. So... Okay, thank you for the obvious, but yeah, and no one saw it coming. One day you were... gone. I don't think I've processed that yet, to be honest. Mom couldn't handle the pain, so she shut down. Oh gosh. I guess that was her coping mechanism. She spent months crying over you. Who wouldn't cry? They lost their best friend. She barely slept or ate. That's bad. I didn't expect this to be easy, but I thought I'd still have my mum to lean on. I convinced myself that I was lucky to have her, regardless of how she was handling this. That's what I kept telling myself on the worst days. We weren't alone either. People tried to support her. Aunt Cora wanted her to visit a therapist, but Mum locked the doors and ignored her phone. I tried to talk with her too, but it was like she couldn't hear me. She was a shell of a person, shutting everything and everyone out. I thought she needed time, but... oh no, one morning she packed her clothes and bought a plane ticket. There was no warning. She said she'd be back in 2 weeks, that she needed a vacation. But she wasn't back in 2 weeks. Mum left, and it sucks to say, but I knew she wouldn't come back. I've seen her a handful of times since. Okay. One of those times was to sell the house that you built. I still drive past it. I like to pretend that you'll be waiting on the porch, having a cigarette or watering the plants. It's soothing, in a strange way. Like opening my favourite chapter in an old book, pretending I don't know the ending. I pause to catch my breath. Mum's in an apartment on the other side of the country with her new boyfriend. I thought that could have been the case, but I stayed here. She helped my tuition and rent, but she's gone. Honestly, if you saw her today, you wouldn't recognize her. I feel like I never really knew her. She left me behind. I don't think it's because I remind her of you. There's a hole in my heart where my mum used to be, and I hated her. A part of me still does. I used to think it would be easier. You can see both sides, but at the same time, I wouldn't think it would be easier. But then again, you're not in this situation where you have this weight on your shoulders. Isn't that horrible? Blank me, saying that it is worse than feeling it quietly. Daddy, I spent so much time hating her. She took up all the space I had left in my heart. But the worst part of it is it's that I think I forgot to deal with losing you. That's why I'm here today. Because the person I need to talk to most in this world isn't part of this world. he was a part of this world, and his skeletal state still is. I look skyward as I blink back, wedding tears. Huh? Aunt Cole used to tell me to think of you smiling down on me. I keep thinking how sweet she is to say that, but when I picture you, you're looking up. I know that sounds dark, but seriously, what's left of you is 6 feet below me. Cole wanted me to remember you in a happy way. I get that. You must always remember those that you've lost in their best moments. Not when they're about to die, but in their happiest moments, the memories that you've made with them, the cherished thoughts that you have with that person. They're the memories you need to hold dear to your heart, not the sinking feelings. This is not a ship. This is not a submarine. This is a plane. I'm just too literal. I searched for what to say next and wonder what he'd say if he were here. The truth is, I don't know what you'd feel. I didn't get a chance to know you better. Cole's words echo in my mind. Dad's smile. What was your smile like anyway? And why didn't I try hard to preserve it in the first place? A frustration that I can't swallow begins to form in my throat. I stay silent, afraid that my voice will break, and the rest of me will follow. I do my best to reanimate my dad's grin in my mind's eye, but there's nothing. A stray leaf dances in front of me before heading west with the wind. I push away the distraction and close my eyes, forcing myself to focus on his lost expressions. I try to revisit each part of him. His amber eyes, his perfectly straight nose, the way his eyebrows furrowed when I asked too many questions. Slowly, I could piece him together, but he wouldn't assemble. Even his voice was a dulling whisper. Why couldn't I remember how he spoke? One exact phrase plucked from my memory would be enough to hear him, but the words remained unspoken. I couldn't even remember how he sounded when he said, "I love you." A familiar pain begins to claw at my chest, one I'd buried under a mountain of pills early this morning. What kind of pill? Oh, pain. Damn. No, not now. I inhale a ragged breath and shove the shadows away. It's something I've practiced for a while now. Keep talking, distract yourself. You know. It's good I visited before the snow. Winter is nearly here. You might not realize it, but today is your favorite holiday. It's also the day you died, 4 years ago. Maybe you knew that part though. He suffered long enough to know he was going to die, I think. There was a detail that made me vomit when they told me about his accident. He was awake when the ambulance arrived. Why wasn't it faster? In my constant reimaginings, he'd always be unconscious. I couldn't bring myself to picture any details. Well, in this day and age nowadays, ambulances are out there left, right and centre getting people into the hospital for you know what. I didn't want to remember how he suffered, but it was a part of his story. That is correct. It was part of his life. That's correct. His suffering and vices had even drifted into my dreams lately. The anniversary always amplified them. I tried smoking and drinking just to see what you thought was so great about it. I must have gotten the genes from you because they're my favourite crutch now. I don't know why you tortured yourself with them. At least I have my reasons. Are you sure about that? I'm sure that he had his own reasons for consuming such things. Me, I've never touched tobacco in my life. My mum stopped hiding their broken marriage once his casket was closed. I knew things were rough, but I didn't realise how destructive they were. So, this is a very, very morbid question. Would you rather have a life in which your parents have a destructive relationship, or a relationship in which they're broken apart? A part of you wishes that they were still together if they were broken apart, but a part of you wishes that the destruction of that, well, the destructiveness would stop because of the brokenness of it. Like, that's a very morbid question itself, and really there's no right answer. Lately, I've started to question if my mother was the true monster in his life. It's funny, I spent so much time asking myself why you tortured yourself with blanky choices when I mirror them daily. That's why I'm here too, sorry, because I'm your daughter. I came here to suffer, not to heal. This pain doesn't mend like a paper cut, Dad. It festers like a gunshot. Festers like a gunshot. That's a really interesting way of putting it. I'm so frustrated because now I know who Mum is. She's shown the world her true colours. You deserve better. Why can I picture her so perfectly? It's not fair. I bite my lip and push my mother's face from my memory. This isn't about her. Don't let her steal this moment. Anyway, I've been writing. Quite a lot actually, almost daily. It's therapeutic, I think. Getting my feelings on paper helps me feel detached from them. They're a little less heavy when I read them aloud. When I write, I can push the darkest thoughts I'm having away, even momentarily. The best part is, I'm not afraid that someone's listening and analysing. I'm really sorry, Ellie, that I am doing this right now, but that is unfortunately where we're at. It feels safer than the grief counselling I attended. I don't think the professionals were judging me, but when they listened I felt them processing my words and misunderstanding. Just because I write dark things doesn't mean I'm a dark person. Exactly! That is so true. If you write dark stories, does it mean that deep down you're a heinous dark person? No! Just like if you have a particular profession in life, doesn't mean that you absorb that profession as something that you have as the norm when it comes to other people. I'm reaching for brighter thoughts and feelings when I let those words go. My new therapist understands. She's different than the others. Well, the thing is with therapists, not every therapist will work for you. It finally feels important that I go to my appointments. I don't look forward to them, but they're a lot. But when I leave, I feel lighter, like I've lessened the load on my shoulders. I get scared sometimes, but each day is a wild card. Isn't every day a wild card? I hate feeling like everything is out of my control. There are so many external factors within our lives that we cannot control, which is why they're called external. But the things that we can control, make sure that you don't regret them. I'm terrified that therapy can't save me. I don't want to bottle things up again. No, that's the worst thing to do, bottle things up. Holding that blank in was the worst idea I've ever had. Blank it. Dad, I'm done pretending. I drink. You smoke, okay? I popped some pills before I left the house. I'll do anything to be numb. And I'm afraid that scribbling my feelings isn't enough. I thought the pain was dulling, but it's worse than the day you died. I know you're not here today, but I keep picturing you in every tomorrow. In each day, that image grows a little dimmer. Between losing you and Mum taking off, I've been trying so hard to feel empty. Empty is very bad because it feels like at that point that you're trying to erase what was giving you such a gravity on your shoulders in the first place. Being happy felt out of reach, so feeling less became the best option. However, you can understand why. Turns out being destructive couldn't save me. It doesn't save anyone. You can't hear drowning girls cry. I wipe away the overflowing stream of tears with my sleeve and shut my eyes. Practice those deep breaths. It's okay to be upset. I inhale and exhale. But the breaths are intruded on. Sorry, I wasn't laughing at a game, I was laughing at something that I just read below on Discord. The earth sways below as a sensation of floating overcomes me, almost like sitting on a boat. Uh-oh. Why does it feel like the world's drifting? It's probably those stupid allergy pills. A twinge of concern washes over me as I try to imagine the state of my liver, but I excuse the thoughts quickly. It's not like I eat vegetables or drink enough water anyway. Coffee, bread, and cheese are my food groups. I associate myself with a cheese group. My favourite gender is Worcesterdale. No, not Worcesterdale. I forgot what it's called now. Not you. Wensleydale. That's the one I was thinking of. It was done to take more pills before leaving. I know it's a bad day when they can't keep me from crying. I'm trying to focus on the positives. At least I was doing better. Taking this as prescribed was a challenge, but I managed to for quite a while. Never overdose. Today was a hiccup, but usually a subtle but helpful bandage. I'm an idiot for thinking they'd handle this visit. Subtle can't cover this. How could I ever expect this visit to be easy? It was naive of me. Today is always going to sting. I'm going to emphasize the sting. The words I've whispered under my breath 1,000 times echo out once again. You're never going to be okay. You're never... Come on, Ellie, don't say that. Don't say those things. Don't say those things. There is always hope around the corner. I mean, this is a Yuri visual novel after all. Spooktober. I tell myself that I need to get those words out of my... Okay, words out of your system. But I know that they're bound to sit on the tip of my tongue again, waiting to escape. With my eyes still shut, I sigh and let my thoughts drift with the vertigo. Maybe those pills weren't so useless. A chilly gust lifts fluttering leaves away from the earth, and I can hear them dancing through the air. I begin to imagine that I'm flying with them, twirling away from this place, away from my body. And... Hello? A voice. I must have imagined it. It's not imagined. It is there. Are you okay? What the... Hi. I open my eyes and stumble upward in a daze. I hurriedly dust off my clothes before looking toward the stranger behind the question. Hi there. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm taken aback by her presence. I didn't expect to see anyone here. No, it's fine. You didn't scare me. My throbbing heart tells a different story. I suddenly feel thankful that I'm not the blushing type. Are you alright? I'm fine. Why? She gestures towards my dad's headstone and suddenly raises her eyebrows. I think you were sleeping on someone's grave. Did you, know them? I laugh half-heartedly. It's my dad. He wouldn't mind. Oh? The girl's posture stiffens noticeably and I remind myself to tone back the abruptness. You're not talking to a ghost anymore. Act normal. Exactly! They have pink hair. Let's be kind about this one and ask her name. What's your name? I'm Lucia. And you are? I quickly realised I should have introduced myself first. It would have been the polite thing to do. Why do I always feel so disjointed when I meet new people? It's embarrassing. My name's Ellie. It's nice to meet you. I'm not sure how to pronounce Ellie without the I. That sounded more robotic than genuine, but at least I'm trying. So, Ellie, do you mind if I ask why you're napping in the cemetery? Well, it wasn't on the agenda. I took allergy medication and it hit me a little harder than I anticipated. Oh, I've been there. What are you allergic to? I scrambled to come up with a good excuse. What? I'm not too sure. Had some hives and figured it was best to take a pill. Or 4. I get it. Sometimes cats make my eyes itchy. I pet them anyway. They're worth it. I give these sweating eyes. Worth it because I'm looking after my cat. I can't help but smile back at Lucia. She seems sweet. So, you were visiting someone too? Lucia's smile falters. Nice job, you're always good at brightening the room. Yes, my sister passed away. Her name was Kate. She died last week. I can't help but regurgitate the sentence that everyone had spoken to me in the past. I'm sorry. Lucia shifts her feet uncomfortably and stares at the ground. I remember standing like that too, unsure how to respond. Sorry, that wasn't the right thing to say. I don't mind. It's what everyone says. I know. I've been there. My dad died 4 years ago, so the memories are still pretty fresh. Lucia's eyes widen fearfully. They are? I struggle to backtrack, jumping to counsel her as best I can. Not in the same way that you're feeling. I mean, it's his anniversary today, so it feels closer than usual. Lucia's shoulders drop slightly as her gaze softens. That's understandable. I get it now. I'll be visiting on Cat's Day too. Does visiting get easier? A Molotov mixture of disgust and embarrassment builds in my chest. What am I supposed to say? No, I think we should be truthful about this one. It doesn't get any easier. I decide the truth is my best option. I don't know. Her eyebrows furrow slightly. A hint of confusion glimmers in her gaze. What do you... I mean, but I haven't been here since he was. I trail off for words too heavy to speak. I haven't talked about his burial before, sorry. The smooth and polished shine of his cherry wood casket revisits me. No, don't cry in front of her. Don't scare her. I shake my head and try to find my way back to the present. Sorry. Lucia nods in silent understanding. We pause for a moment, both not so sure how to continue. Lucy takes a step closer, trying her best to mend the gap between us. Ellie, you don't have to explain. I'm sorry that I prodded. Pruded? I expect the knots in my stomach to twist and tighten, but they nearly surrender as Lucy looks at me apologetically. Instead of burying the words and leaving them to wait for my notebook, I speak up. I want to explain. Lucia smiles softly with a hint of encouragement. When it came to visiting, I couldn't do it. It never felt right. My memories of him aren't in this spot. They're everywhere but here. Which is natural. I tried once, but it wasn't long after he passed. He was full of life. So his graveside, it wasn't a place I could reflect on him. Until today? Yeah. Today I wanted to try again. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess I hoped it would help with closure. Lucia looks towards my father's headstone. Those are beautiful flowers. I like the arrangement you chose. I bite at my lip unconsciously. Thanks, but I didn't need those. I think his sister was here earlier. Cora is big on flowers. Oh, well, she has good taste. Sorry to focus on the flowers, I can't help myself. I'm a florist. Ah, that's... He could not have the pause. Interesting. The anxious realization that I never thought to bring my dad flowers hits me. It never even crossed my mind. Does Lucia think it's rude that I didn't? Maybe you could suggest a banquet for my dad. I should have brought one. Hey, if it's not your thing, don't feel like you have to buy them. That is true in itself. Lucia smiles carefully as she reads me like an open book. I do have an idea though. If you want to leave him something meaningful, please, I'd love to. I expected not to mean that, but for some reason I want to. Wait here, please. I nod as Lucia walks past me. I flip through my notebooks and start staring after her, doing my best not to act entranced. Where did this girl come from? She's so sweet. The crunch of fallen leaves under footsteps carries from the distance. Lucy stands closer than before. I brought you this. She reaches into her bag and extends her hand. Hey, it's a flower of sorts. That's lovely. A single icy blue rose sits between her thumb and forefinger. I reach forward but stop in hesitation. Where did she get it? It was left at Cat's grave. A gasp escapes my lips as I shake my head. I can't take that. No, don't worry. Cat would want your father to have a flower. She doesn't like roses anyway. Ah. Lucia trails off, realizing what she said. I mean, didn't cat didn't like roses. I try my best to reassure her with my gaze I accept a rose. Thank you. That present tense thing, it goes away. Don't feel like you need to jump to correct yourself. Time will take care of it. Thanks, Ellie. Lucia nods silently in response. As I kneel against the cold earth to place the blue rose on my dad's grave, I realize how fresh the flower is. The edges of the petals have barely begun to wilt. I feel Lucia's eyes on my back. Before turning toward her, I ask the question in my mind. Lucia? When was Kat's funeral? Yesterday. As I face Lucia, I want to ask her why she's here today. I want to know what she's doing. I want to hug her. I want to make her feel less alone, even if it's for a fraction of a second. I want to give her what I never had. A moment of silence passes by us. But before I could ask Lucia to let me in, she breaks the silence herself. Are you still tired? I massage the back of my neck absent-mindedly and laugh a little. Yeah. Did the dark circles give me away? Lucia giggles softly. No, your eyes are fine. That's kind of better to lie about. I looked in the mirror before. I can't believe I fell asleep. It's a little embarrassing. Don't worry about it. Do you drink coffee? Yes. Let me buy you one. You don't want to sleep through Halloween. There's a great coffee shop in the Old Town district. Old Town? Is it that little far? Did you drive here? No, I walked. Well, I don't mind giving you a ride. Let me take you. It's my treat. Unless you have other plans. I don't, but a part of me remains hesitant. Getting into cars with strangers isn't something my parents encourage, that's for sure. She seems harmless enough, but I don't actually know her. Plus, today is not exactly an easy day for me. Sometimes spending that time with someone, though, can be reassuring. Lucia quietly reads over my rigid stance. Without explanation, she grins and starts to giggle at me. Do you want to take a selfie together? What? Not at a grave site, for goodness sakes! That way. If you go missing, they know exactly who to look for. I smile back at her and subtly shake my head. Nah, that's fine. I stick out my thumb in a hitchhiking fashion. I love the thrill of getting into a stranger's car. Lucia playfully rolls her eyes before winking at me. Buckle up, Ben, we're going for a ride. Nice. We head towards the road. Gosh, she does have dark humanity, Ellie does. We head towards the road, walking past rows of headstones side by side. I didn't imagine I'd be leaving here with someone. The feeling of walking close to her is strangely comforting. I guess I always expected to be here alone. Even if I had a special person in my life, I wouldn't ask them to come here. It's hard to understand what it's like to visit this place, unless you're missing someone. Gosh, it's raining heavily out there now. The drive to the coffee shop is uneventful. Lucia's car has heated seats, so I try my best to subtly warm my hands under my legs. She doesn't seem to notice and stays focused on driving, as drivers should. We chat about the weather, mostly. Once we reach the Old Town district, Lucia carefully navigates towards the last parking spot on the street. Boo Cafe! This is the place. With the way that the characters are positioned, I imagine there's going to be more characters to come. I haven't been here in forever. After stepping out of the car, Lucia tugs gently on my sweater and guides me to the crosswalk, She practically bouncing towards the cafe. Once we cross, we find ourselves at the front door. Despite the chilly weather, they still offer outdoor seating. Our waitress steps outside to greet us with a smile on her face. Hello, welcome. If you'd like to take a seat, I'll be right with you. As the waitress steps inside, I move to follow her. Lucia pulls at my sleeve again with an expectant grin. Let's sit out here. It's more private. As we take our seats outside the cafe, I can feel the energy of the cemetery fall away. Our table is vibrantly decorated with Halloween-themed trinkets and candles. This is so cute. I can't argue with that. She definitely chose a festive spot. The street is bustling with ghouls and witches. Even our waitress is dressed up. Happy Halloween! Can I interest you in one of our spooky specials? Can I have a pumpkin spice latte, please? Yes, I'm a fan of Starbucks, and I love those drinks. Lucia's eyes light up immediately. Whoa, what are they? The waitress grins, realizing she's hooked Lucia in. Today we have our pumpkin cheesecake paired with any of our 4 specialty drinks for $8.99. If you're craving something warm and hearty, we also have butternut squash soup with one of our fresh baked biscuits. Lucia squeals with delight. I love cheesecake! Could I get a pumpkin cheesecake with a... Lucia, you have good taste. Pumpkin spice latte, please. I guess she likes pumpkins. After jotting down Lucia's orders, the waitress' gaze darts towards me. What would you like? That pumpkin cheesecake sounds fine. And to drink? I rack my brain for anything other than the What do you mean? So, what do you have for drinks? Let's see, maple pecan and chai lattes. Lucia raises her eyebrows and whispers extractedly across the table. Psst, the maple pecan sounds super yummy. Except I'm not a fan of nuts. I can't help but chuckle. Okay, I'll get the maple pecan latte. The waitress nods and leaves with a smile. Whenever you like cream with that on top. Hey, barely a minute passes before our waitress rushes back to the table. Now that's some good customer service right there. Here are your lattes. Thanks so much. I'll bring your cheesecake over as soon as it's ready. Lucia peers over at me with a curious glimmer in her eyes. Do you think it's too hot to sip? It's not too hot to sip. Did I say too hot? I'm sure it's fine. I lift the cup to my lips and decide to take a swig. I also like the music playing at the moment as well, quite Halloweeny and spooky. Yikes! My throat buzzes as I try desperately to clear it inconspicuously. I do my best not to splutter on Lucy as I reply. It's quite warm still. Yeah, warm is an exact understatement, sorry. She giggles softly. You don't need to be my lab rat. Just try to be helpful. Lucia raises her cup and takes a careful sip. It's not that hot. Were you trying to scare me? Well, it is Halloween. How did she not scald herself? Does she have no sense of temperature? Is she like, I don't know, your mother who likes to have boiling hot baths? Maybe that's why she chose outdoor seating on this chilly day. Do you like celebrating Halloween? I flutter, unsure on how to explain myself. I used to. Lucia realizes what she asks. Ouch. Sorry, I couldn't believe I forgot that today is... No apology necessary. I try my best to steer the conversation with a lighter tone in my voice. I do like Halloween, by the way. I just haven't done it other than hand out candy for a few years. The kids in my neighborhood love my place. They know I always have tons of treats. Hey, you only hand out candy? You haven't dressed up? Nah, no, but I did like that part when I was in high... I don't even know why I went back, the CG was still the same. But I did like that part when I was in high school. Great! I'm going to a costume party tonight. What do you think? Spooky? Or spicy? Huh? What kind of costume should I go with? I have a closet full of options. Now, folks, just settle down. I'm going to select Spooky. Spooky, it's classic. She grins with an almost fiendish quality. I like how you think. Maybe I'll dress up as a witch. A spicy witch. Yeah, we're calling that word spicy. I can see her pulling off that look. Your hair is perfect for a witch costume. You could go for a real mystical vibe. You think so? Absolutely. Well, would you let me tell your fortune then? Absolutely. I shrug casually. Sure, I'd love to get some insight. Lucia reaches over and takes my hand in her own. She studies it carefully, squinting with exaggerated focus. Evening. There are stars in the night sky. I see you headed towards a house. She closes her eyes and yanks at my arm even harder. And then he fell across the table. Hey, be careful! Shh! There's a crowd of swirling capes and vibrant dresses. Oh! Drinks and candies are being passed around a colourfully lit room. You'll arrive there very soon. I will? Lucia releases my hand from her grip and opens her eyes. So, did you want to come to the party with me? I was going to go alone, but it would be great to bring along a... Lucia's words drift away from me. My limbs stiffen as I suddenly been plunged into icy water. A party on Halloween. That night, he went out that night. I was the one that called him. I bite my cheek, desperate to escape the coursing river of guilt. No freaking out. Not now. I dig my nails into my palm, trying to snap myself away from the echo of that Halloween party. Okay, focus and breathe. The idea of rejecting Lucia hurts, but I can't go with her. The voice of my therapist says, trauma trigger rings in my ears. Yes, I promised I'd stop being self-destructive, and I can't risk Lucia seeing me like that. I can't. Not tonight, at least. The ghost of that distant night disappears as quickly as it arrived. I'm at the cafe with Lucia. I'm okay. Lucia grips the handle of her mug and spins it absent-mindedly. I thought you didn't have plans. What do you mean you have a date? I have a date later. Sorry, I didn't mention it. A frown escapes Lucia. A date? I nod. Yep, with a bowl of leftover candy. That's not an excuse. Leftover? Oh. Relief washes over her. If it isn't obvious already, I'm painfully single. It's not obvious. Really? Of course it isn't. You're so pretty. For a second, my heart skips a beat. Wow. I realise how rude I might be coming off. Wash. I mean, thanks. We break eye contact and struggle to continue. That's one way to snap back into reality. Come on, keep it up. So, what's it like being a florist? My ploy to redirect to a conversation is painfully evident. Lucia doesn't brush me off, luckily. My family has owned a flower shop for 3 generations, so it's pretty natural for me. What about you? Are you a student? No, I graduated from a tourism and hospitality program. I work at the Spring Dream Suites. That sounds interesting. It's really not. My job is to fend off bad reviews, basically. Lucia laughs, but I'm afraid it's forced. Do you like to travel? I haven't really travelled since I was a kid. But if I ever have the chance, I'd love to work at a resort. Just to see what it's like to live in a warm climate. Count me in. I'm always down to book a room at a island resort. I promise I'll leave a good review too. If you give me a discount, for goodness sakes, I knew that was going to come in there. I can't help but giggle. I'll do my best. I'm curious about your job. When did you join your family's business? Well, it is a hand-me-down sort of thing. They started training me when I was young. I spent plenty of summers playing in my grandmother's garden. She started the business with my grandfather. It's beautiful. They have a huge property out in the countryside. I love putting together banquets for my mom when I was little. My grandma would help me pick them, so they always turned out perfectly. She called it my training. Her plan works though. I'm running the business with my parents now. My grandparents are retired, but they still help out when we're short-handed. Lucia's gaze seems to intensify. It feels like she's looking right through me. Is she alright? She notices my concern and smiles reassuringly. Sorry, I was thinking about those summers as a kid. I can still picture the day that my sister made a flower crown out of daisies. She put it on my head and called me a princess. It was just a game to cap, but... She clears her throat. That was the day I fell in love with flowers. I'll never forget it. Lucia. That was a vulnerable moment. Her hands tremble ever so slightly. She must have been nervous to share that memory with me. That's so special. Hello ladies, here's your pumpkin cheesecake. Before I can finish, our waitress interrupts. We wait for her to sit down our plates and cutlery. Can I get you anything else? I think we're good, thanks. The waitress steps away and heads inside. I fiddle with my notebook and flip through the pages while Lucia sips her drink. Ellie, can I ask you a question? I smile, eager to start chatting again. Go ahead. Lucia motions towards the table. What's that? Oh, it's my notebook. Like a diary. Sort of. It has a bit of everything. Unfinished thoughts, sketches, and some journaling. I don't usually carry it around. You bought it for your dad? Maybe it was obvious. Or maybe she understands me. Yeah, I did. I thought about reading to him, but I felt weird once I got there. I talked to him instead, which wasn't much easier. I think I know how you feel. I tried talking to Kate yesterday, but I couldn't. I left her voicemails instead. It felt close to how things were, almost normal. It's subtle, but Lucia's voice breaks as she trails off. Instinctively, I reach across the table. For a fraction of a second, my hand rests on top of her own. I pull away swiftly, fearing that I've invaded her space. Sorry. She stares at her lap, unmoving. Thank you. That was nice. For a moment, I envisioned the horrible pre-space. Whatever that word is, I've never seen that word before in my life. Lucia is hovering on the edge of. Unfiltered, unprocessed, raw grief. One day she's going to realize that in the infinite possibilities of this universe, she will never see her sister again. The realization that there will never be another moment shared with Kate. The end of making memories and the beginning of their blurring. It seems clear, but it never was. Ellie? Yeah? Lucia bites her lip and stares into her cup. I have questions I'm afraid to ask anyone else. It's because of a similar situation that we find ourselves in. I don't want to be weird or rude, but you seem to understand loss better than anyone I've spoken to. I struggle to give her a good answer. What if I make her feel worse? I decide to warn her. Honestly, I'm not the best person to get grief counselling from. I mean, who can say that they are the best person, really? I need someone to be real with me. I'm tired of being brushed off. Suddenly the circle of chairs in the church basement revisits me. I felt brushed off too. It was so discouraging. Alright. What did people say to you? I heard that the stages can take years, but that the pain won't last forever. Is it true? Grief and pain are two different things. If I were to say something, I would say that neither of them goes away completely, but they do mellow little by little over time. The stages. Honestly, I forgot how much people like to focus on that idea. My grief wasn't in stages, at least not in the way I expected. She gives me a quizzical stare through glassy eyes. Emotions aren't dominoes. They don't fall in a logical pattern. That is so true. My grief falls like sudden rain on a cloudless day. I can wake up in acceptance and go to bed angry or bargaining. Lucia's eyes brighten. That was poetic. I ignore her praise. Look, I know that your sister is always on your mind right now, but there's going to be days where you forget about Kate for longer than you ever thought possible. I forgot about my dad all the time. Lucia seems startled by my admission. There are moments when his memory doesn't steer any pain or tears. Because you're healing? No. I feel ashamed or angry, even dull at times. It always feels wrong. You'll probably be disgusted with yourself for putting it together and burying how deeply you miss her. I felt punished for trying to function, going to work, visiting friends, even getting dressed. Putting away the pain is harder than carrying it. I just want you to know that. There's no winning. There's no easy way to process this loss. She blinks carefully, intentionally, as if she's truly absorbing the information. You know. Lucia stops to clear her throat before continuing. I didn't plan to go back to Kate's grave today. You didn't? No. I was driving around mindlessly and it sort of dawned on me that wandering in her days was disrespectful to her memory. She would have done anything for a clear moment. I'm not sure that I follow. I don't want to demand answers, but I can't nod and pretend it makes sense like that grief group did. I'm not here to tell her that she's young and that'll make it easier. That was one of them. Anecdotes and ages. How do you pronounce that word? Ages aren't solutions. My bad, folks. I've never seen that word in my life as well. I wanted to listen and do my best to understand her. But Lucia doesn't move to explain herself. If you're not ready to accept... No, it's fine. Sorry, I need a moment. I nod and wait for her to gather her thoughts. She takes a deep breath and begins. Kate suffered from chronic health problems and taught me what a privilege a pain-free day is. She tried her best to live a normal life, but her had a habit of stealing happy memories from her. One morning, Kat didn't get up for breakfast. My mum went upstairs to check on her. They had plans to go shopping, so it was odd that she hadn't started getting ready. When my mum walked in, Kat wouldn't wake up. She was taking prescription drugs for her illness and she aspirated in her sleep, right? It was sudden. She died all alone. And now I'm here, 1 week later, enjoying a pumpkin spice latte while my sister starts to rot in the ground. My heart shudders as she speaks the word rot. So yeah, I get what you mean. There are no right choices. Every moment without her feels wrong. I feel like a stranger in my own life. I'd never say anything like that, especially to someone I've just met, but I spoke without hesitating. And now I'm regretting every word. I'm afraid that you think I'm a freak. No, you're not. No, it's horrible, but everything you said makes perfect sense. I don't want to tell her anything else. I don't want her to know that my heart doesn't feel like it did before. Lucia gives me a look that cuts deep. This girl is staring into my eyes looking for hope. I reach out and squeeze her hand, but the comfort is forced. I don't know how to tell her that I'm broken too. She doesn't deserve the whiplash of false hope. I don't want to see her bite that apple. I don't want to watch it turn into bitter ash on her tongue. I pull my hand away and break the silence. Can I put my number in your phone? Lucia straightens her posture and reaches for her bag. Sure. She unlocks her phone and hands it over. I carefully type my information into the new contact menu, making sure I leave no mistakes. I know it's a cliche, but you can call me anytime. I don't care why either. It doesn't have to be an emergency. She nods as she stashes her phone cell back into her bag. Thank you. I still have questions, if you're willing. I feel an acidic hesitation burning in my throat. I'm not sure if I'm the person you should be around right now. I think you're wrong. I don't think I am. I tried talking to other people dealing with loss and it didn't help. Sometimes I wonder if the opposite would have been better. No. Maybe you need to surround yourself with people who don't get it. How would that help? Maybe you'll convince yourself that you're just like them. No. Look, I get it if you don't want to talk about grief, but I don't need kid gloves. She points to my lap. I want to hear the Elle that's in the notebook. I know you've already let me listen to her. When? The poetry. Grief that falls like sudden rain on a cloudless day. I'll bet you $20 that's been written in there. As much as I wouldn't mind paying for the meal, I won't bet against her. I know she's right and she knows it too. I'll push aside my uncertainty. It's not like you have to see her again. If your answers freak her out, it was her choice to insist on them. But I find myself imagining her in my future. Where she fits in, I'm not sure. But I'm certain that I want to see her again. Okay, I'll bite. Finally. First, you have to make me a promise. What kind of promise? When we go our separate ways, you have to text me after. Even if it's to say bye. Forever. Okay. I'll promise that I'll text you. I'll wink at Lucia playfully. Ask me anything. I'm an open book. She grins at the notebook pun. Okay, let's start weird. Was your dad's service an open casket? Yep. Did he look himself? They never do. I haven't seen a body before Kate's service? Katie's service? I don't know what I expected a dead person to look like, but it wasn't that. Looking at her made me feel sick. Or maybe it was afraid. I couldn't believe it was her. She looked like a doll. Like a weird imitation of Kate. Even when I wasn't staring at her, I knew exactly where she was. I couldn't tear my mind away from that image. She definitely didn't look like she was sleeping. She looked dead. And that's because, unfortunately, she was. I could barely focus on the service. She was all I saw. It's awful, but I can't really remember what anyone said to me that day. The eulogies are a blur. I pursed my lips. How did no one notice how she felt about seeing her dead sister? Why didn't anyone help her? I'm sorry nobody warned you before the funeral. I'm sorry that no one saw what you were dealing with during it either. You needed support and you deserved it. Thanks. Having a viewing isn't right for everyone. Please don't worry. It's okay to be freaked out. You're not the first to feel that way. Trust me. There's a term for it. Seriously? Yeah, it's called Uncanny Valley. When you look at someone you've seen animated with life and see that emptiness, that absolute absence of energy, the void, the nothingness. It's different from everyone. For everyone, sorry, but you're not going to like it. I'm sorry you saw Kat that way. You deserve the option not to. Lucia frowned sharply. You're right. No one asked if I wanted an open casket. My parents did all the planning. I just showed up. My mum did the opposite. She dragged me to every moment of planning, choosing Dad's casket. It's burned into my memory. There's no winning when you don't get a choice. We both deserve to make our own decisions. Lucia nods as her expression softens. Ellie, please don't feel pressure. I get it if you can't share anymore. I know that I'm not entitled to your pain or experiences, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't want to hear them. Can I ask another question? I'm going to say, with this one, yes. Go for it. Lucia's lips quiver as her amber eyes betray a sliver of anxiety. You're sure? Please, I want to help. She swallows audibly. Do you feel like he's watching you? An old weight descends and perches on my shoulders, the hovering of familiar eyes, a spectre I thought I'd left in the past. I shrug it away with a practiced breath. In the first few weeks after he died, yeah, quite often. That goes away fast, I think. You don't remember? I can't tell her how I yelled at nothingness in the days before Dad's funeral, how I ordered him away from my own comfort, but I didn't want him to visit either. I needed to live without his ghostly gaze. That stays between us. Simplicity is the best. Is best. It goes away. Or you just decide that you don't care what they see. A hint of blush touches her cheek. It better go away? I felt something weird. I felt weird showering today. I couldn't stop picturing her standing on the other side of the curtain, waiting. It's eerie. I feel like I'm going crazy. I promise you're not crazy. I've been there. How did you do it? What? Cope. How did I cope? That's an impossible question. Keep going. Honestly, that's an answer I'm still searching for. You must have tried something. Oh, Lisa, I've tried plenty. I decided to turn the question back towards her. What have you tried in the first week? My hair, I guess. It wasn't this colour last week. I had the appointment before Kat died. She booked it for me. I couldn't bring myself to cancel it, so I went to her funeral like this. There's a hint of regret in her voice. There's nothing wrong with fashion colours, exactly. Maybe from your own perspective. I thought it would make me happy, but it didn't work. I remember when I felt that way too. When I thought that a haircut or a tattoo could spill some colour into the grey haze. I regret not rescheduling it at least. My cousin implied that I was trying to steal Kate's spotlight. Some of Kat's friends did too. Spotlight? What a poor choice of words. That wasn't fair of them to say, but it was. I did that when she was alive. Kat was my best friend and worst enemy. I got so jealous of her constantly. The worst part was, Kat knew it, and she always did her best to reassure me that I was pretty or popular too. It didn't matter what was bothering me, she would zero in on it and try to fix things. Kat could be too kind. It was disarming and infuriating, and as much as she bugged me, I would do anything to get that back. I want her to make it better. I need to know what to do with all of this. I'm overflowing with feelings towards her and there's no resolution. I can't work it out with her. Every chance slipped away in an instant. There's no outlet for this ocean of pain, and it hurts. I wanted to stop, just for a second. I want a break. I can't give you a break. No one can. I know. I raised my hand to stop her. Wait, I wasn't done. I can't give you a break, but when things get too stormy, I can be your anchor. I wait, half expecting her to burst into laughter over the lame sentiment. Or maybe she'll pity me and she thanks as quickly as possible. Her eyes grow wide in disbelief. Why? You don't even know me. I think I know you better than you want me to. I know the questions in your head. I've lived them. Lucia freezes. Maybe that scares you? I feel like you know me too. And it's uncomfortable. It fills me with insecurities I didn't even know I had. But I still want to see you again. I want to meet the other pieces of you. I mean, I don't know your favorite color or hobbies, but I want to. She doesn't respond. That's the long-winded version of why I'll be there if you call. If you want to see me again. Lucia finally emerges from her silence. I do. But if you're going to know my story, I need to hear more of yours. I can tell you're censoring it. I'm not blind either. When I asked you about the Halloween party, you froze up. I saw it. Something stole you from our conversation for just a second. You don't need to hide that from me. If I'm going to be vulnerable, can't you be too? I promise I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going anywhere. Will you tell me what happened to you? Yes. But if you have questions, wait until I've finished. Lucia nods in agreement. Okay, I can do it. Fair warning, it's a long and messy story. If it's too much to hear right now, please stop me. I will if I need to. Alright. I swallow, but the lump in my throat remains. It's an uncomfortable ache. Until today, I haven't felt that for months? Maybe even years. It's better than feeling nothing, right? I turn my attention back to Lucia. I'm going to think aloud here. If I come off erratic, that's why. Honestly, I'm ashamed of myself. And that's not typical. I hated myself. I felt angry, lonely, and stupid, but never ashamed. There was no one around that I cared enough about to feel shame. When you started asking questions, you made me reflect on for the first time in a while. Despite my declaration of honesty, I can't help but hold back. Vulnerability is not my thing, but anyone can be in that state. It's exactly why therapy has always been a struggle. I decided to borrow the attitude I fought so hard to leave behind. Blanket. Here goes nothing. 4 years ago, I went to a Halloween party. Lucia's eyebrows raised quickly as expected. I was home from college that week, and I was so excited to get together with my old friends. We'd all gone to different schools, so it was something we'd been planning for a while. We'd all dressed up together before the crowd arrived. It started out pretty innocently, but a ton of people showed up and the party got kind of crazy. My friend was hosting and she didn't mind, luckily. Originally, I planned to stay the night, but I ended up drinking way too much and I needed to go home early. My boyfriend stayed on campus that weekend, so he couldn't give me a ride. I called my dad after midnight and he agreed to come pick me up. He wasn't mad or anything. He was glad that I called when I needed him. I was just having fun and overindulged. He understood. My dad was driving to my friend's place when a teenager in a truck blew through a stop sign and T-boned him. When the emergency services arrived, my dad was still awake. He didn't make it to the hospital. I'll wait, trying to gauge Lucia's response. She seems okay. I'll keep going. The kid that caused the accident walked away with superficial scratches. He was lucky in that regard, but mentally, he was traumatized. I don't have any ill will towards him anymore. He did his best to make amends with my family. Honestly, I hope he can live a normal life. One mistake shouldn't haunt him forever. After my dad died, things with my mum went downhill pretty quickly. I left school to stay home with her. It didn't feel right to leave her all alone. Things fizzled out with my boyfriend because of the distance, so I was dealing with my stuff too. I tried to be there for my mum, but nothing worked. When I spoke with her, she made me feel like I didn't exist. And when I tried to tell her about my feelings, she shut me down. She treated suffering like a competition. She'd say that he was just my dad. Never say the word just, because that means that there is less of gravity there for that person. Don't say that he was just your dad. Don't say he was just your father. Don't say he was just this person. He is much, much more. She'd rant on about how we're meant to lose our parents. We're not meant to lose our parents, but one day we will lose our parents. Not meant. It's an inevitability of life. Life and death. Those are the two inevitabilities. So don't say we were meant to lose them, because that sounds like it was planned, it was staged. Nothing staged. That he was her husband and that her pain would never end. I barely recognized her. There was even a time when I thought she might kill herself. I didn't know what to do. I was practically still a teenager. I catch myself holding back, but pushed through. It was bloody scary. Lucia purses her lips and nods solemnly. Her eyes speak as sincere an "I'm so sorry" as she possibly can. But she stays true to her word and doesn't interrupt, sensing that my story isn't complete. Without much of an explanation, she suddenly went on a vacation and never really came back. She moved to the West Coast and got a fresh start. I grit my teeth, forcing myself to say what I'd only ever felt before. My mum says that I was always welcome to join her, but I know she only offered because she knew I refused to move. She knew that I wouldn't follow her. Eventually, she ended up hating my dad. I think it was her way of coping. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but she clung to everything that was wrong. He was a shift worker, always rotating from days to nights. It meant that he didn't get to spend as much time with us as he would have liked, but it paid for my mum's lifestyle. Your mum's lifestyle? My gosh, what kind of monster is your mother, Ellie? She always had new clothes, a nice car, whatever she asked him for. I know he loved her. He used gifts to try to make up for his schedule. My mum doesn't seem to remember that side of him. I guess it's easier to hate someone rather than mourn them. She never fails to blank talk him when we're on the phone. In her eyes, her new boyfriend is perfect, and my dad was human garbage. Huh? I must have skipped back accidentally. I can't stand to listen to her for too long, so I keep our calls short and spaced out. My therapist calls it creating boundaries. It feels like giving up though. Yeah, there's no really long extensive phrase you can call something. You can't call something a magical ride on a magical train into Happy Land. No, it's called about running away. My mum's goal was to get rid of me, she wants so. Call it a mental breakdown, a midlife crisis, or whatever you want. There's something I've never been able to shake off, even years later. As I fight to utter them, the words try to escape me. They're unspeakable thoughts. Lucia looks at me, questioning, and I nod. Ellie? You're safe with me. Please, you can say it. Every day, I wake up and think I want to go home. But I can't. That part of my life, that door is locked. I shake my head, disagreeing with my statement. No, that's not it. I want to go home. But my mum burned the whole house down. When I think of that part of my life, it's like sifting through a pile of ashes. There's nothing left. I did stupid things, trying to numb the pain. I partied, slept around. I couldn't go a day without... slept around. I couldn't go a day without smoking. I was always reaching for painkillers too. I think I convinced myself they'd quiet the throbbing in my head. House parties were too close to losing him, so I went to nightclubs instead. I remember dancing in the middle of a neon crowd, feeling more alone than I'd ever thought possible. I was surrounded by people smiling and partying, but there was no happiness. I realized no one was looking for me. I was screaming for help and no one could hear me. Had a new life. I was completely alone. Those choices were my own, but They were choices my parents would have protected me from. I got lucky in the end. My doctor probably saved my life. His office called for an annual checkup, and instead of cancelling, I felt compelled to go. I didn't tell him much, but he saw the signs and pushed me into treatment. Lucia, I'm not the kind of person you should be around. I'm not good. My mum, Warm tears spilled down my frigid cheeks like a spring rain on forgotten snow. My throat constricts, threatening to choke my words into silence. But remember, Ellie, sorry. You and your mother may be related, but that doesn't mean you are the same person as your mother. In some ways, you can learn from your parents' mistake and be somebody that is not them. Like, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but my dad's dad was a horrible person, and for over 30 years they've never spoken to each other. But my dad is a much better person than his dad was to him. I don't know what I did. I don't know why she left. I don't know why she stopped loving me. Lucia reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. As her fingertips brush across my skin, my shoulders drop. How does she do that? She has such a subtle presence. The smallest gesture feels like she's wrapped me in a fuzzy blanket. Why? Why did I feel safe telling you this? Sorry, do I feel safe telling you this? Lucia's expression softens as she pulls her hand away. Maybe this wasn't an accidental, I don't know how to pronounce that word correctly, connection. Accidental. I hastily wipe away the tears from my sleeve, doing my best to compose myself. What do you mean? I never planned to visit the cemetery. My sister wasn't the reason I pulled over. It was because of you. The universe put you there and pulled me in like a magnet. Come on, stop with this kind of philosophy, kind of prophecy kind of thing. I was sent to find you. I think we were meant to meet. But in some ways maybe you're right. But it still feels very alien when you say it like that. Perhaps you're right. When I visited his grave, and he left as soon as I got there, I felt stupid thinking that a visit could help me find closure. I was going to leave, but I felt a pull, the headstone, so I sat down and stayed. A magnetism mass for one. That could have been the allergy meds though. They're prescribed by my doctor for anxiety. You took more than you're supposed to, that's no good. Lucia stiffens. I know, it's wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm an idiot, honestly. I promise I won't do it again. But if I hadn't, we probably wouldn't have met. She nods sympathetically. That's something to talk to your doctor about, Ellie. Or a mental health professional. Please be careful. Kat took her meds properly and it still had unexpected consequences. Make an appointment when you go home. I will. Good, I'll hold you to it. She sticks her tongue out playfully. Book that. And our next cheesecake date is on me. Another date? Maybe she is my type. It's a deal. Great. Also, I want to make a point. I don't think anxiety meds are why we met. I have to argue fate's case. I think there was a sign that we were meant to find each other. I just couldn't see it until now. What sign? The banquet of blue roses for Kate. They weren't there during her burial. Someone dropped them off afterward. I don't follow. Well, the thing about blue roses is, they're not a typical flower to leave at a grave all on their own. Usually you have an arrangement with all kinds of accents. Roses weren't something Kate liked either, but there's a local tradition behind blue roses. No one really remembers this kind of stuff anymore, except for florists in the region. It's a lost tradition. What's the tradition? In folklore, children would leave a single blue flower at the grave of their father. Blue roses became particularly popular because they weren't naturally occurring. The gesture symbolizes peace or serenity, depending on who you ask. My grandfather always told me that leaving a blue rose would help a father's spirit move on. Otherwise, they'd cling to this world to watch over their children. It grants the deceased an acceptance of their past and allows their children to grieve. I'm certain that I was meant to find that rose. Your dad was meant to have it. Lucia's words at his graveside echo through my mind. I do have an idea if you want to leave him something meaningful. So that's what she meant. It seems like more of a coincidence than anything. Still, I'm left with questions. I don't get your meaning. Why do you think that the rose was faithful? It seems like someone dropped them off after Kate's service. That's all. Kate's service. I think you're wrong. The fate put those roses there for a reason, regardless of who brought them. You were meant to take part in that tradition for him. I feel frustration ebb into my voice. Yeah, but why? Why? It was the question that always haunted me. Just like with anybody, why? Why as well, yeah. Why was everything familiar gone in an instant? Lucia smiles with patience beyond her years as if she's waiting for my realization. Why? Because your dad doesn't need to worry about you being alone anymore. I'm here now. I fumble racing to organize my thoughts. Do you really mean that? Ellie, that Rose was waiting for us. He deserves to be at peace. You're not alone anymore. I'm not going anywhere if you want me around. My tears threaten to overflow, but I crane my neck backward to stop them. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. When I look back at her, I can only bear to whisper my answer. I want you to stay. I will. For the first time since that, I feel a bond, a new connection. I don't want to lose her. You'll keep your promise, right? What do I promise? To text me once you drop me off. Lucy reaches for her phone and begins to tap away at the screen. Is she texting me right now? She gasps suddenly. Oh shoot, we need to go soon, it's getting pretty late. If we stay much longer, you're going to miss your trick-or-treaters. Indeed, that is the case, and you don't want that now, do you? You've got that date with your leftover candy too. As much as I don't want to leave quite yet, I don't want to keep Lucia too late. We better go. I don't need kids egging my place. Plus, I don't want you missing that party. I think I'll skip out. It's been an interesting day. Well, I hope you find me energy to go out. Halloween is my favourite holiday. Mine too. And don't worry, I'm going to send you pictures of my costume. I'm sure you'll love them. I can't help but bite to my lip. Looking forward to it. Lucia waves towards the waitress. Can we get the bill, please? I'll get that right away. The waitress glances towards our untouched plates. I'm sorry, was there something wrong with your cheesecake? No. We're in a bit of a rush, that's all. Could we get takeout boxes, please? Of course. Hey, that's a good answer right there. Thanks for coming. Happy Halloween. With the bill paid, we cross the street and head to Lucia's car. And I focus on giving Lucia directions to my neighborhood. I can't help but feel eager to get a box of Halloween decorations dusted off and onto my doorstep. I'm at number 235. Right here? Yeah, that's my place. Lucia pulls over and parks the car. As the engine switches off, I can't help but wonder what she's up to. I thought she'd just drop me off. Let me walk you to your door. You don't have to do that. She giggles softly. Of course I do. This place is crawling with monsters. And yeah, spiders and angry-looking pumpkins. Little superheroes, princesses and ghouls begin to trickle out into the streets, passing by houses without porch lights. I hurry up the steps and unlock my door. As I turn the key, I feel Lucia's eyes on my back. What? No goodbye? Nah. Don't act so worried. I'm not ditching you just yet. I look back and pop the door open, hit the light switch and watch as the dim orange glow flickers on. It looks like you've got plenty of kids on the street. Oh yeah, I already have leftover candy. That's too bad. I would have liked to steal some, but you're not in a costume. You're lucky then. Why is that? I have a stash just myself, and I might be willing to share. Does that mean you'd have to make plans to see me again? I guess so. Lucia steps closer. I can smell the faint remnants of a pumpkin espresso aroma swirling around her. That's rather close then. Her gaze drifts downward from my eyes and traces my lips. I'd like that. Is she... Boo! An eruption of laughter echoes from across the street. A group of trick-or-treaters were trying to scare their friends. Lucy adjusts the strap on her purse, clearly flustered. I've been thinking about our next date. I can't help but smile when she says date. You have? Yep. Maybe we could go with something casual. Coffee wasn't casual. I meant the topics. I'd love to know what your favourite music is or what your childhood pets were like. I want to know more about you. My heartbeat quickens. I like where you're going with that. I can do simple, as long as you spill some details too. I want to hear about all your past, ex-boyfriends, adventures, everything. Lucia begins to fidget again, this time with her necklace. Well, you won't have to worry about boyfriends. What about girlfriends? There's nothing wrong with that either. She seems anxious about the admission. That's a relief. No competition. I try best to make her laugh, but all I get is a grin. Worth it. Do you like horror movies? Yes. Although I'm more into ghost stories, slashers aren't my thing. Alright. Did you want to come over tomorrow night? We can eat candy and watch the haunted house film. Her eyes light up. I'd love to. Great. It's a plan. Although I do have one question for you. Sorry. What is it? Should I expect flowers? Always. I guess I better buy a vase. Don't be silly, I can bring one. But I want to buy the vase for myself so that they're compatible with your flowers. Ellie's vase. Lucia's flowers. It's almost like they're going this. Anyways, Lucia reaches into her purse and taps at her phone. It's getting late. I think I should head home. There is something else I want to say before you go. Okay, it's that if you do change your mind about us seeing each other again, it's okay. Why do you say that? Because meeting you was a blessing either way. You made me see myself so clearly. I used to think I'd never make a step forward, but my grief hadn't changed. Today, you were a mirror into my past. I could finally see that I've been doing whatever I needed to. I'm growing. So, blue roses and fate aside, you lost your sister this week. I'd rather you lean on me and not the other way around. I also want you to take as much time as you need before we see each other again. If you wake up tomorrow and can't get out of bed, that's natural. I'm not in a rush. I'll wait for when you're ready to spend time together. Put yourself first. Lucia nods. Thank you for saying that. But just so you know, you can't get out of your alpha date that easily. I expect chocolate bars and lollipops tomorrow night, or you're in big trouble. Good to know. I'll be ready. Lucia bites at her bottom lip absent-mindedly. I'm glad I found you today. I can't wait to get to know you better. Lucia inches closer to me. Good night, Ellie. Aww. That is a lovely moment. You could also call it a wholesome moment. Oh, Lucia wraps her arms around me in a warm embrace, and you did the same as well, the CG implies. I think you're an amazing person. Thank you for today. That's also sweet. I smile. She smiles, with tears as well. No, thank you. I'm glad that you found me, Lucia. I squeeze her tight. Good night. That's wonderful. Graveyard Girls. That, folks, is all I'm going to cover for Graveyard Girls. And honestly, what a beautiful game in its own ways. But also a very grieving experience. Not as in the writing was grieving or anything like that, but of course the dialogue's grieving, but I think the way that the story was told was beautiful its own way, because it really captured what it's like to lose someone so important to you, that your life has forever changed in its own ways. Like, for all of us, we deal with these kind of pains very differently, and whatever path of life we are on now from that pain, I hope at some point it's always better, no matter how slowly that healing process is. And for both Ellie and Lucia, it is a process of one of them lost one of her loved ones many years ago, or a few years ago in this case, but for the first time visited that grave today, whereas another person came along and they just lost somebody very recently. And in fact, yeah, special thanks to Leah. Thank you for playing. Thank you so much as well for making the game, developers of this game. But that, what is this all about? Golden morning light trickles across my windowsill. What a beautiful sunrise. For the first time that I can remember, I'm glad to see a new day. I snuggle under the covers to enjoy one last second of warmth. And there's a blue rose as well. This is Ellie, isn't it? I sigh. Instead of angry words, anxious dreams, or dark cravings, there's only one thing on my mind. One person. I imagine her in a room with me. What would that be like? Maybe I'd make her pancakes. We could sit down for breakfast and chat the morning away. I bet she loved coffee. The fantasy warms the forgotten ice in my heart. Despite being alone, I want to say it. Good morning, Lucia. I'll see you soon. It's a promise to myself. One I intend to keep. I forgot what I was about to say now, actually, before this CG came up. It's like a surprise CG in its own ways, because I didn't expect it. So, I don't think there are other endings in this game. Or if there are, then please do correct me on that one. But it felt like that last CG was a kind of a secret, sort of, in a ways. So that it tells, like, you've made all the correct choice in order to unlock it in a way. Because I felt like when it comes to credits and something that happens afterwards, it's something that you unlock through a specific set of tasks or choices in this case. So when sharing and offloading all of our thoughts and stuff like that in that particular regard, like keep saying yes when she wants to ask a question, and you're like, let's not hold back, let us offload in this case. And I feel like that was what unlocks that CG in a way. So if we go to memories, there is more to tell. But I think, scribbles as well. Oh, just scribbles. It's just scribbles. Just scribbles and that's that. So For this particular playthrough, I'm not going to be pursuing the other memories because I believe they are within other choices of the game. So I think there are multiple endings, but we're going to leave things off here, folks. So that means that if you want to see what else there is in this game, then you'll have to find out by downloading the game for yourselves and playing it for yourselves in order to discover what else there is in this game. So thank you all so much for watching, guys. This has been Graveyard Girls, and we shall see each other's in another video. Possibly, and most certainly will be, another Spooktober 2021 visual novel jam entry. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves.